Let's react to some quotes on art. Yeah, let's see. Let's start with that. When you have a cause, the best way to express yourself is artistically. I mean, what do you mean? You mean like a social cause? Because who is this? Hani Abbas. I don't know who that is. Oh, of course. But yeah, like I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, you can have art for your cause. Anyway, the coming extinction of art is prefigured in the increasing impossibility of representing historical events. Is prefigured in the increasing impossibility. So, is he saying that. Who is this guy? Is he saying that because we cannot verify whose story is true, like the Victor, like who actually like wrote the history books, or like why is that the why is that the extinction of art? It's the extinction of history as we know it, or it's like, or maybe like of subjective truth, or like objective truth. But I don't understand that quote. Yeah, this is one of those philosopher type guys. See, like what I feel about a lot of these kind of philosophers, like this guy or whoever else, all these people who like to act really smart by quoting philosophers. They all like these guys who kind of overcomplicate the world and in the wrong ways and simplify it in the wrong ways. Like that's what I feel. Both are torn halves of an integral freedom to which, however, they do not add up on high culture and popular culture. Let's see what he's saying over there. Okay, they've removed this book. Fear and destructiveness are the major emotional sources of fascism. Eros belongs mainly to democracy. Alright? Writing poetry after Auschwitz is Babek. There can be no poetry after Auschwitz. So isn't it funny? Like this guy saying, "Yo, this really horrific thing happened, so we cannot make poetry anymore." Meanwhile, this person here is like, when you have a cause, you have to express yourself artistically. Obviously, they don't have to agree, but I'm just saying it's funny. Art is magic delivered from the lie of being truth. Oh, it's the same guy. But that I get what he's saying there. But it's like, dude, you're trying to like be all deep and shit. You can't be like art is this, art is that. It's like what the fuck is art? I have this very very what do you call today square idea that art is something that makes you breathe with a different kind of happiness. Art is the highest form of hope, and other quotes by artists. So I respect this because she's like, I have this, what do you call, square idea. Yeah, like I relate to that. I'm quite a square person. That art is something that makes you breathe with a different kind of happiness. Yeah, it's like a different kind of happiness, yes, but it's like it might not be actual happiness. It can enhance your happiness, it can also make you really sad, and like both as a creator and a consumer, both. So technique without art is shallow and doomed. Art without technique is insulting. Dorothy Alexander in a Christmas message to her dance students. Yeah, I agree with this. You need a balance of both technique and art. If you didn't, then I mean, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, maybe for you, technique is art. Like, it's an art of technique. And then maybe for others, it's like technique seems like an imposed expectation, you know? And the lines get blurred and it's very contextual. So it's like you could be an artist who has a lot of technique, but it's like it's contextual. It's like I will use the technique when it is called for. And as for art, in this definition, I guess what she means is like the actual, like what you're trying to express and like your vision and stuff like that, which, yeah, like when I was reading Joe Satriani's quotes, it's like it was more about, you know, his life experience or whatever he just felt about things. But when I clicked on like the quotes for about art, right, it's just like people being like, oh, you know, it has to be like this, and I said so. It's not like they said that, but it just comes off like that when you read them all one after the other. I make art because it centers me in my body, and by doing so, I hope to offer that experience to someone else. Yeah, I feel that art does help you connect back to your sense of self. And, but the other thing I do feel is we are sold this lie that it is kind of, it can heal everything. And it can completely like center you, and like it ties into stuff like Wu Wei. Like Wu Wei is a very good concept, yes, but it's so everyone every second person like, yeah, I'm into Wu Wei, I'm into Taoism and whatever. You must sit in silence and not do anything, and firstly that's a wrong way of looking at it, because the path of least resistance isn't always like inaction and just being silent and just like trying to suppress everything, or like trying to like just let everything flow out through you and just go away, because sometimes that is a resistance. And the actual path of least resistance is to be able to break through at the point where you have to break through. And yeah, and sometimes that's ugly. Like sometimes it feels very intense. And so I'm not saying this quote is invalid. I'm just saying that it's quite, as much as it does center you, if you go too deep into like your art, in the sense of like putting everything, putting it as the pinnacle of your I don't know the right word to say, but like putting it on a pedestal basically. So putting it on a pedestal and shit, it's gonna hurt you. It's not gonna like center you. It's gonna take you outside of yourself after a point. It's gonna take you outside of yourself and put you inside of it. Right? The arts are a wonderful medicine for the soul. And that is true. But again, and this is pretty recent too, 2021. But again, it goes both ways. Because both too much medicine is bad for you, and also art can be a poison. Like, that's the applied arts. It's a skill it's a technique by which you are able to influence someone else. So you could influence them for good, like you can give them medicine, or you could poison them. And sometimes you don't even know what you're doing, because and sometimes it's both, because what heals one person hurts another person. And if you start thinking of, like, if you start caring about how it's affecting people, it can give you like artist block, because everyone reacts to it differently, and you're like, who should I focus on, who it's benefiting or who it's hurting, and should I do it more because it's benefiting these people, or should I stop because it's hurting these people? And yeah, that shit gets confusing. Art would not be important of life. Yeah, this is a nice quote. Isn't this guy an actor? Oh no, I was thinking of, like, I thought he might be Alec Baldwin's brother. American novelist, short story writer, playwright, essayist. This guy has some nice quotes. Yeah, these are the quotes which are nice. Primary distinction of the artist is that he must actively cultivate the state which most men necessarily must avoid, the state of being alone. It's true. The problem is, especially in today's day and age, with all this digital stuff, and see, because of all the digital stuff, it's like you can't really meet people organically that much anymore, because everything is like, you'd usually go somewhere and meet people who you already know, who are in your friend circle, or you know them from the internet. It's very rare for you to like actually go and meet random people, especially if you're an artist, unless you go to those art gatherings or something. But yeah, but the thing is, when you're creating, you need to be alone, right? So it's like difficult to balance the two, because what's the point of being completely alone and making all this amazing art, but then there's nowhere for that art to go because you're alone? So that's something to think about. One must say yes to life and embrace it wherever it is found. And it is found in terrible places, for nothing is fixed forever and ever. I just went back to this guy, the tab where this guy's. I kind of find this quote funny, and I kind of agree with it. The aim of jazz is a mechanical reproduction of a regressive movement, a castration symbolism. Give up your masculinity, let yourself be castrated. The eunuch-like sound of the jazz band both mocks and proclaims, and you will be rewarded, except into a fraternity which shares the mystery of impotence with you. Like, I've never understood why. I know why people like claim to like. Maybe they actually do like it, but it's like the way they go about like being like, oh, I love jazz and I'm into this jazz musician and I listen to this one. It's just like it's like a transcended impotence, in a sense. It's like, oh, we're too cultured, you know. We can't listen to that. We can only listen to stuff which sounds complicated. But obviously, like, there's a lot of good jazz, like, you know. But I'm talking about like in the modern age where everyone, like, all the jazz musicians which are influenced by the original jazz musicians, and then like it's just the people influenced by them and then by them, and it's become like a, from a free form thing, it turned into like a ideology. So I found that quote funny. Um, Art is made by the alone for the alone. One thing is clear: is like everyone has a very different different understanding of the word art. I guess it's contextual, right? So art is made by the alone for the alone, but it's also made by lonely people to try and reach out to the masses, or like for like someone who's not alone to just make like, what is art? Is it art if it's like good? Is it art if it's like deep? Is it art if it's like, I don't know, talk about loneliness? But I do understand what they're saying in the sense that most artists you think of, you could consider them lonely, but I don't think that's the case. There are a lot of people who have vibrant social lives who are considered artists. So this is a nice quote. Scientific pictures are not just about science, they may have an undeniable aesthetic quality. They may even have been primarily works of art that possess a scientific message. Pop art is the inedible raised to the unspeakable. Alright. Art constitutes a minor free zone outside action, paying for its freedom by giving up the real world. A heavy price. Yep. This quote is too long, I'm not going to read it right now. Bad art is more tragically beautiful than good art because it documents human failure. Oh, is this from a movie? It's a pretty deep quote. Any great work of art derives and readapts time and space, and the measure of its success is the extent to which it makes you an inhabitant of that world. The extent to which it invites you in and lets you breathe its strange, special air. Yeah. That's another thing. Like, see, when you read stuff like this directly contradicts stuff like art is made by lonely people for lonely people, because that's not true. Like, any great work of revive, think of like a video game, right? Everyone plays video games. Lonely people, people with friends, they play games with their friends, they make friends in the game. And many games are great works of art. They have storylines, they have metaphors, they have all kinds of stuff. They have an entire world. And it does let you breathe its strange, special, it's an experience. So here Leonard is talking about opera, what makes opera grand, right? In 1958. But this still applies today because um, in fact, it applies more so. How many people would go to the opera? I'm sure everyone couldn't go to the opera. But everyone's playing video games. Like, everyone. It's either Candy Crush or it's GTA. There abides in nature a certain form of matter which, being discovered and brought by art to perfection, converts to itself proportionally all imperfect bodies that it touches. I'm gonna have to read that again. There abides in nature a certain form of matter which, being discovered and brought by art to perfection, converts to itself proportionally all imperfect bodies that it touches. It rested on indisputable appearance of an indefinite cycle of transformations, reproducing themselves in chemical operations, without either beginning or end. What is he talking about? Oh, he's an alchemist. L'origine de alchemy. L'alchemy. So I guess he's some alchemist or something. Let's see who this guy is. What is he doing? Chemist and politician. So he's a chemist. And he is literally talking about matter and he's talking about the art of chemistry. No work of art is worth the bones of a Pomeranian grenadier. Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of weird when you want to like harm living beings for the sake of art. I never understood that. It's like, it's just weird. Degrade first the arts if you mankind degrade. Hire idiots to paint with cold light and hot shade. Is this the arts and crafts guy? Because he had some nice stuff. I remember his stuff looked pretty nice. The arts and crafts movement. Is this? Or was that? No, that's William Morris. I believe it was William Morris. Yeah, William Morris had some interesting pattern designs. I agree with this. Especially when you are someone in the arts, because if you try and bottle stuff up and you keep it like locked inside because like, you know, it's not appropriate to like vent all that stuff out. your art will suffer, and you will wonder why you're losing energy and not creating anything. Art has always been a polite form of terrorism. Yeah, I don't know. See, you know what? A lot of these guys who have these like quotes and stuff, maybe their art is a polite form of terrorism. Maybe. Or maybe they, when they say, it's like that quote that art must comfort the disturbed and disturb the comforted. Like, yes, some art will do that, but that's just a blanket statement, and it's actually very damaging because life is contextual. You cannot always create from a certain standpoint and then hold people to that standard to create from that standpoint. And I see this a lot with actual terrorist supporters. Like, people who support actual terrorists will tell you, you need to be more political, and what they actually mean is support their political thing, which is kind of trying to do some things which actually are not very helpful, and they are terrorism. So that's another thing. Like, art doesn't have to be political. It's like, if you want it to be political, you can make it that way, but it doesn't have to be. And anyone who tells you that it has to be, who is also an artist, it's just like they want to, either they want you to like side with their political thing, or they get mad, or they'll be like, it's just not valid. They'll be like, they'll be like, that's not art because it's not political. And they'll make that out to mean that you don't care about stuff, when maybe you do. Maybe you've actually sat and thought about it, and you realize that posting political art on social media, it just causes more problems than good, right? That's what I feel like. You should do it if you feel like you should make what you feel like, but you shouldn't feel like you have to because everyone is telling you to. That kind of defeats the purpose, right, of creating from your own perspective. So art that matters creates a context of meaning which draws on the most basic experiences of being in a world that makes transient sense. Such experiences can be of the kind which children have that determine their subsequent responses to the world, which have been Yep. See, this whole thing up here, I kind of blanked out. It felt like word salad. But this last part, if what is aimed for in both art and philosophy is a wholesale critical response to the totalizing nature of the commodified world, the danger is that they will mirror what they oppose. And I want you all to think about that. Just think about that. See, all these people, right, especially artists, people on the left who like think, oh, we're on the left, so like we're the creative people, right? Well, actually, everyone is creative. So people you don't consider creative might be more creative than you, even though you're an artist. Like, maybe the guy who came up with the tools you make your art with, like your iPad, like all the stuff that goes into that, but you don't consider that creative. Anyway, so if all the creative people right now on the left, they're like, you know what, we need to, the capitalist society sucks and we need communism, and that's the answer because capitalism is evil. Well, in communism, you wouldn't get to make your precious art. You would just have to do whatever you're assigned. And the art you make would be more, uh, would be censored, it would be policed, it would have to be checked before it can be published somewhere. They'd have to check that it matches the criteria of what can be posted. So it's like these people are dumb. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're looking for this wholesale. They want us to have a wholesale critical response to the commodified world. But like, those same people buy all those commodities. I don't think like the people who are actually happy with the commodified world really like, they're not out buying all the stuff they can just because they can, and they're not like mindlessly. It's just people who make up that story. People buy what they want because they want to. And yes, there is a lot of bad sides to capitalism, which is mainly because certain people are unscrupulous. But why do you think that wouldn't be the case with communism? And even more so because positions of power tend to attract such personalities, right? The difference is, in a capitalistic society, you can achieve your own position of power outside the government, and you can get to a position of influence to the point that you could influence the government. But in a communist society, you just have to listen to what the government says. So I don't get these people who like, they tell you have to be political and follow that specific political ideology, because it's very damaging to what they want in reality. They just think that it's gonna give them some kind of utopia, which is not possible. Major art does not involve a kind of rightness which reveals what is wrong with art. What? Major art does not involve a kind of rightness which reveals what is wrong with art, which does not possess this rightness. Okay? Aesthetic flaws in this sort of situation are akin to logical flaws, because it can be shown why they are not right in the context in which they occur. Yeah, I get what he's saying, but the way he said it is very convoluted. In fact, I think that is an aesthetic flaw. It's like you just overcomplicated this whole quote. And this is a guy who's writing a book about Adorno. I guess it's this guy he's talking about. And this guy is talking about that guy. And they both use really convoluted language, which, like, this quote could not be a major quote, because most people wouldn't, they'd feel there's something wrong with it, because it does not possess the rightness of a good quote, which is to stick in your head. How are you going to expect someone to remember this? Major art does not involve a kind of rightness which reveals what is wrong with art which does not possess this rightness. Aesthetic flaws in this sort of situation are akin to logical flaws, because it can be shown why they are not right in the context in which they occur. Yeah, like, sure, like, you can mess up a painting. Like, you tried to make the whole painting in a certain style and with a certain level of neatness, and you like misplaced a stroke, so it feels like a flaw, right? And everyone can see it. But then you have stuff like genres, right? So I guess that's what the real thing is. It's like, when you're trying to do a specific genre, you're usually expected to follow the rules of that genre, which makes, like, the rating system of that genre. Like, if you're doing like some kind of abstract style, then maybe it's just the colors or the textures or like the composition. Or if you're doing like a portrait, then I guess it's like how accurate the portrait is, or like how expressive it is, or how whatever. So I guess instead of saying aesthetic flaws and logical flaws, what he means is like, yeah, where you just, it's like technically you tried a certain style or technique and you didn't do it properly. And now people can see it because they've seen that technique already somewhere else done properly. But then again, isn't that kind of reductive and kind of constrictive? What if you wanted to put the mistake in there? What if it has some meaning? Maybe it won't be perceived as that perceived that way, so people perceive it as wrong. But still, while our art cannot, as we wish it would, save us from wars, privation, envy, greed, old age, or death, it can revitalize us amidst it all. And yes, I agree with this. Zen in the art of writing. Mr. Bradbury, Ethan Bradbury. Y'all know Ethan Bradbury? That guy's. I need to see that. I'm not gonna play it. Anyway, like there are a lot of quotes here. I think the I'm still from A to Z. I've only reached C and not even finished B. So I think we're gonna end this here because it's wow. It's been 37 minutes. But I think I've found my new YouTube format. It's gonna be this: reading quotes and just thinking about them and saying what I think about them. Because I find it very interesting in this case because it's focused on art. You can see that when people start writing about art, a lot of them, especially these philosopher types, they start to like really color the word art through their view and also equate it to suffering. Like, and that's another trope. It's like art, like to be an artist, you have to suffer. And I guess it is true in the sense that when you do suffer, usually your mind wants some kind of escape. So then you can channelize that into some kind of skill. It could be an artistic skill like painting or playing some musical instrument or like writing or something. Or it could be something else, like you could like go and exercise or something, like do a lot of exercise, or like I don't know. But that doesn't mean that art, to be an artist you have to suffer. Like you can be an artist, you can grow as an artist without growing in suffering. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, everyone suffers in their life, but you don't need to like equate the amount of suffering to the amount of artistic merit. And I think a lot of people get that like mixed up, especially people making art, because and they it causes them to beat themselves up and like compare themselves to other artists who have like gone through like they've heard stories of them going through like all kinds of things and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean you have to go through those things, and it doesn't mean that your art has to in fact, like I can kind of speak from experience, right? Like, I feel I have gone through some form of my own suffering. So, but that doesn't mean I like art which is dark, but I also don't like art which is overly whimsical or like all like sunshine and rainbows. Like, I don't like that. But a lot of people do. Like, I get why the person who makes that art makes it, because they like it. And there are other people who maybe have not suffered in the ways which I have suffered. Maybe their suffering is in some other area and it doesn't affect their art consumption, and they can enjoy the art which is like not like I said, I don't gravitate towards like art which is dark, but I like some dark art. I like some light art, some spiritual art, some mundane art. It's like it's based on your taste, right? It's all taste at the end of the day. It's like the taste of your senses, and like how your mind reacts to things. So you tend to pick things you like reacting to. Some people like to be challenged intellectually. Some people like to be intellectually confirmed. Some people like to be emotionally challenged or emotionally confirmed. So it's all on your taste. It's like, what do you want? What do you want to consume? And what do you want to make? And who do you want to make stuff for? Because, like, if you like people who think a certain way, like, why would you make art for another group of people who think of in some completely different way, just because that's what some quote said art should be? And I think I should end this video now. Anyway, thank you.